Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and welcome to Let's Talk Theory, the show where we analyze some ideas and hypotheses around our favorite subjects. I'm your host, Zelrix, and today we're gonna talk about one of the best animated shows of all times, the famous Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is a show about two twins, Dipper and Mabel Pines, who will go spend the entire summer at their great Uncle Stan's shack. There they will live some pretty interesting adventures, ranging from unicorn encounters to zombie fighting. It is pretty much the bastard child of Phineas and Ferb and Rick and Morty, to be honest. Speaking of which, there is a pretty well-known theory on the internet that Gravity Falls is actually related to Rick and Morty, theory that is almost confirmed by the creator of the two shows. So obviously we're not gonna talk about this theory today, but we're gonna use it as a reference point. The thing is, if something works in a certain way in the Rick and Morty universe, it has to work in the same way in the Gravity Falls universe. Among other things, this theory comes from the fact that Rick did invent interdimensional travel and that pretty much every Easter egg from Rick and Morty and Gravity Falls are linked to each other. Finally, I have to throw a quick warning for spoilers as usual, then brace yourself because this video is gonna deal with interdimensional travel and time travel. Finally, for today's theory, I've gathered theories from all around the internet and linked them to one another. So now that this is out of the way, let's talk theory. Here's today's main topic. Who and what is actually Bill Cipher, the main antagonist of the show? To deduce that, we need to take a look at the way he dies. At the end of the series, Grunkle Stan lets Bill Cipher enter his mind before erasing it, seemingly killing Bill in the process. After that, many fans theorized that Bill actually survived the erasing and now he's plotting his vengeance somewhere in the universe. Right before dying, Bill starts to speak gibberish, something that we can't understand as the viewer. But here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna play the clip backwards and here. AXOLOTL. My time has come to burn. I invoke the ancient power that I may return. Yes, the backwards message is indeed a spell that Bill is casting to resurrect later. Pretty obvious that this is indeed a magic spell. After all, whenever Gideon speaks backward, it is to cast a spell. And these spells are often related to summoning Bill Cipher. Question being, why to cast this spell did Bill invoke the name of an axolot? We need to dive in the non-canon of Gravity Falls. In a book called Dipper and Mabel and the Curse of the Time Pirate Treasure, Select Your Own Choose Adventure, we actually see an axolot and he recites this poem. In the poem we can hear the verse, 60 degrees that come in trees, watches from within birch trees, saw his own dimension burn, misses home and can't return, say he's happy, he's a liar, blame the arson for the fire. If he wants to shirk the blame, he'll have to invoke my name. One way to absolve his crime, a different form, a different time. We know for sure that this poem indeed talks about Bill Cipher for two reasons. First of all, Bill did invoke the name of the axolot. Second, the axolot gives this poem to Dipper right after he asked about what does the God knows about Bill Cipher. Unfortunately, as mentioned earlier, this book is 100% non-canon. But the creator of the series did say that the book contained one big piece of canon evidence. We learn many things from this poem. First of all, Bill will indeed return in a different form and in a different time. Second, Bill's homeworld was destroyed. The poem even mentioned that Bill is indeed very unhappy about his world being destroyed. What can I say? Even interdimensional demons have feelings. Also, the verse blame the arson for the fire teaches us that Bill's dimension was indeed burned to the ground on purpose. Then, the poem mentioned that if Bill wants to shirk the blame, he will have to invoke the axolotl's name. Pretty big clue that if Bill's dimension was indeed destroyed, he destroyed it. After that, Bill did see the axolot and he asked him for a pact that will grant him the ability to invoke the ancient power and be protected against anyone that might hurt him. And finally, one of the most important clues, it tells us that if Bill was to come back, it would be A, in a different form, and B, in a different time. Maybe, perhaps, before the events of Gravity Falls, seeing how much time travel is a big part of the show. And what if we actually met Bill in this other form? What if Bill Cipher was indeed Dipper Pines? Let's go back to Rick and Morty. If in this multiverse there are an infinite number of universes with an infinite number of possibilities, that also means that there are infinite number of Mabel and Dipper Pines if they are indeed part of the same multiverse. But in those different universes, there are things that almost always plays out the same way they played out in other universes. For example, Beth marrying Jerry, having Summer, then Morty. Well, maybe one of those things is that when Dipper actually destroys the universe, he turns into Bill Cipher. Maybe that after seeing the Axolot, Dipper went back to the god and asked him for a pact, the same pact Bill did. When Dipper then destroyed his own universe, he invoked the ancient power and came back as the triangular shape that we all know. I know that MattPat from Film Theory did make an entire episode on how Grunkle Stan might be Bill Cipher, but I have arguments to support my theory too. First of all, let's borrow a clue from another theory. If you take out the A from Axolotl, you get Xolotl, Aztec deity of fire, lightning, and among other things, twins. This is a pretty popular theory on the internet that indicate that Bill Cipher might have a twin brother or perhaps a twin sister. Bill having a twin has been a popular theory for quite some time, since in the final he actually uses a totem as a weapon that might represent the god. Then we have the fact that Bill didn't kill Mabel. He imprisoned her in a sphere where every single one of her dreams came true. Granted, at the end of the series he was going to kill her, but it was because he realized how much of a threat she was, that she couldn't be left alone in the bubble because somebody would eventually free her and she would oppose him once again. We know that Dipper and Mabel are really close siblings, they care for each other. Maybe that Bill saw in Mabel what he saw in his own Mabel, in his own universe before becoming a demon. But then again, at the end of the series he was going to kill her. But why her and not Dipper? Granted, it is shown as a random choice, but Bill was trying to scare the Pines. He was trying to send a message, so why Mabel? Perhaps Bill did turn crazy because he lost everybody he loved, and Dipper loves no one more than Mabel. Maybe by killing Mabel at the end, Bill felt that he was going to set up a sequence of events that would turn Dipper into an eventual ally, an eventual clone of Bill Cipher. Well, not a clone, but you know, this universe's Bill Cipher, because this is a very important point. Bill Cipher comes from another universe. Then there is the infamous circle of Bill Cipher, something that we've seen tons of time in the show, but in the final it is actually drawn in a different way by Forbes. Look what happens. The symbols representing Dipper and Mabel align with the edges of Bill's triangle, while the superior edge is on the line between Forb and Stan. Three things. First of all, this shot pushes the viewer to think that there is actually a link between Bill Cipher and the Pine twins. Mabel and Dipper are both represented by an edge, and the central edge is in between the other things, just like how Dipper and Mabel were always torn apart between Forb and Stan. Finally, in the journal, this is not how the circle is drawn. Normally, Pacifica is on Mabel's edge and Forb is way lower on the circle. But this has been drawn by Forbes, probably the human who knows the most about Bill. And he indeed knows how dangerous Bill is, so maybe Forb rigged the circle in his journal. Or perhaps the version of the circle in the journal is actually meant to summon Bill, and the one Forb drew is meant to send him away. That, or it is just a mistake and the actual display of the symbol doesn't matter, but the animator chose to draw the circle that way. And as fan of fan theories, and most importantly fan of Gravity Falls knows, every single detail matters. So to recapitulate, there is a dimension where Bill was actually Dipper at some point. Then Dipper met with the Axolotl, who might just be Xolotl now think about it from the Aztec mythology, and they made a pact that if Dipper was to die, he could invoke his power and be reborn in a different place and a different time. Dipper then destroyed his own universe and became Bill Cipher. Forb and Bill made a deal, and the events of Gravity Falls happened until Bill's destruction. But Bill had just the time to invoke the ancient power that he may return. The question is, if Bill was indeed Dipper at some point, is our Dipper safe, or do we need to look at his future with a wide open yellow eye? On that note, guys, please tell me in the comment what do you think about this theory, what are your theories on Bill Cipher, and what do you think will happen in the future of Gravity Falls. Then subscribe and activate the bell to be notified when a new video comes up. Go to my Instagram to support my artwork, it is always so rewarding to see it grow. Share this video with all you Gravity Falls loving friends, and as always, thanks for watching.